Welcome everyone to a Fanboy Frenzy news article short. I am your host and founder of Fanboy Frenzy, Ryan Jarvis. Well, Superman's done it again. He has saved the lives of millions of innocent people. Who are those people? Well, you guessed it. DC Comics is pushing their agenda yet again, and this time, let's just read this together. Superman protects undocumented workers from armed white supremacists in the latest comic. Can I ask you a question? Now, we all know Superman is the ultimate immigrant. He is the embodiment of everything that is good with humanity. Everything. Superman, from his beginnings, is almost like a Christ-like, out-of-this-world style savior that is there to fight for the little guy. I mean, truly, Superman is the social justice warrior of all of pop culture. No one has done more to push for social justice in the realms of comic books, other than maybe Green Arrow and Green Lantern, you know, during their team-ups, than probably anybody but Superman. Superman's like the man when it comes to this. But my question is, as a libertarian, is this an agenda move? I mean, obviously, we all know what happened in Charlottesville. You had a bunch of lunatics out there claiming to be white supremacists. Obviously, these people are, I mean, they're as prevalent as Sasquatches. I mean, they are such a small portion of the population that it's really almost not even worth talking about. You know what I mean? It's like, don't give these morons credence because there's not enough of them to cause a threat. However, I just want to read the way that this is worded and tell me, Fanboy Frenzy Army, what your guys' thoughts are on this. Superman protects undocumented workers from armed white supremacists in latest comic. News at 11. The moment in the book released Wednesday comes a week after President Trump's ending DACA. In the recent issue of Action Comics 987, The Oz Effect, released Wednesday, Superman arrives in the nick of time to protect a group of undocumented immigrants from a white man sporting an American flag bandana, wielding a machine gun, who is going after them for taking his job. Superman blocks the bullets before they hit the terrified people. "Stop this," Superman orders the gunman. "Why? They ruined and stole from me." Ultimately, what Superman tells him is the only person responsible for the blackness smothering your soul is you. Now, we all know that anyone who would do an act like this obviously has a black soul. Anybody. And it doesn't matter the race, it doesn't matter your background. If you would hurt anybody, and then you're scum. I mean, if you would do that to somebody. But the problem that I find in this is that DC Comics has a very hard tendency to push an agenda. For example, I'm a big fan of the Arrowverse. You know, I love Arrow. I watched it from day one. I'm OG when it comes to the Arrowverse. I think it's an amazing series. But what about The Flash? I love The Flash. The Flash is great. And Supergirl is exceedingly great. At least it was. You know, it wasn't until last year, actually earlier this year, when I kind of stopped watching the Supergirl show, or at least didn't care as much about it, because during the Women's March, a couple of days after Trump's inauguration, she was holding up a sign that literally said, "Don't grab me by my blank because it's made of steel." And at that point, I couldn't watch the show very much anymore because I didn't like somebody saying something so vulgar and disgusting when I know that that girl is probably a moron when it comes to politics. I mean, let's be honest. Most of these people, whether it's a Bill Nye who's just simply an entertainer, all they do is they have their 4 or 5 little bullet points that they regurgitate, and if you reiterate a point, a counterpoint, they don't have a counterpoint to your counterpoint. You know what I mean? And so the question I have for all you out there, Fanboy Frenzy Army, is what's your thoughts about, you know, these forms of entertainment pushing that type of an agenda? I mean, I'm all for, personally, as a libertarian, I'm all for, I don't care your position on same-sex marriage. For me personally, I don't care who you marry, I don't care who's in your bedroom. None of those things matter to me. That's a personal decision, and I don't think the government should be involved in it one way or the other. But my question is, and what concerns me, is why is it that only one side of this equation, only one side of the argument seems to be the enemy? I mean, how come Superman isn't going after the Black Lives Matter supporters that were pushing the Black Panther agenda last summer? Don't you remember that? Don't you remember after Freddie Gray and all those incidents were going down that there were policemen being shot? I think it was in Houston, Texas, wasn't it? I mean, policemen were gunned down by snipers. You had Black Lives Matter supporters chanting, "What do we want? Dead cops. When do we want it? Now." You had Black Lives Matter supporters chanting, "Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon." I mean, to me, that's just as despicable as your guy with the white hood out here saying death to the N-words. I mean, to me, that's absolutely absurd. But I want to know, why is it the DC Comics and most of the media only point to white racism? Why do they never point to black racism? Why do they never point to Latino racism? I mean, why do they still talk about this myth of white privilege? White privilege is not existent. If you really look at average income and who stands to benefit in today's economy, it'd really be Indian privilege, or it would be Asian privilege. It wouldn't be white privilege. I mean, most white people, unfortunately, everybody is kind of in the same boat. You know, we all may not live quite paycheck to paycheck, but most of us, have to kind of tighten our belt a little bit. And most of us aren't rich. I mean, to be honest with you, it seems like all this is just a play by the elites to try to separate all of us. I mean, would you agree with that? Do you think it's possible that that's the issue that we're running into here? I mean, if you think about it, go back to Bacon's Rebellion. I mean, that was actually a rebellion of white and black slaves coming together to fight the slave master. Could it be that the 1% is actually pushing an agenda to keep blacks and whites and everybody from uniting? I mean, from pulling a Superman and a Justice League and all of us coming together and bringing our gifts and talents that God or nature has given us and actually better our society instead of constantly bickering with one another? I mean, I want to know your guys' thoughts. I just wanted to get this out there because I looked at this and I thought, yes, Superman should protect that undocumented worker. He should. He should absolutely do it, and we should too. I think we should have a no-nonsense. I don't think we need to be pulling children from their houses and shipping them across the state or across the country. I think there needs to be a no-nonsense way of dealing with immigration. And I think personally mine would have to be, since we're on the subject, mine would have to be is somebody is caught that came here illegally, then I think that, if they have a job and they're contributing to society, do what they used to do after World War II. They'd interview a couple of your neighbors and see if you're a member or an upstanding member of society, if you're polite, if you pay your bills, if you contribute, then absolutely we're glad to have you in America. But, if you're a gang member, if you're a drug dealer, then you got to go. We got to ship you out. And if they have children, maybe that's a subject that we have to discuss at that point. But ultimately, my question to you is Superman fighting all the enemies or only the ones that the media finds convenient? Until next time, this is Ryan Jarvis with a Fanboy Frenzy News Short. And I think it's time to go play Destiny and jump on that raid. So, we'll see you guys very, very soon. Goodbye.